Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Southnord. And good evening, Yemisi.
Hi, dear Marcia.
I'm so happy to have you here and to be sitting among your beautiful sculptures.
Thank you, likewise.
So this exhibition, I'd also just like for the record to say that October is a month where we have Black History Month. Black History is celebrated extra, even though it should be celebrated all year round.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have Afro-Svensk Historia Vecka. That starts next week, the Afro-Swedish History Week, which I think we're working on making into a month. But so it was very important for us to bring this exhibition for this period of the year. And in this exhibition, I know when we started talking, you told me about your grandmothers.
Yes.
And how you'd done these portraits of them. And so I thought that we could start by you telling us about your mormor Anna and your grandmother Ebunola.
Yes. Well, during the last years, let's say 3 or 4 years ago, my mom, my sister is here, started to speak a lot about her parents and the family and the neighbors in Värmland. And we knew the story already since we were children, of course, but she started to speak about it much more eagerly, very intense. And I realized after a while, oh, Mom is getting older and Mom wants to share the story. And this story is very important. And if you think about how can you remember the memories of family? Yes, you tell them and then they should go on. And since I've been working in stone for a long time, I thought I wanted to remember them in stone because stone is the material of memory. And women, stone is, I don't want to say that it bears a patriarchal or imperialistic heritage because it's not only that, of course, lots of old cultures that we find, we get to know them because stone is what remains, But then I was thinking, these kind of ordinary women who are actually extraordinary should be remembered in stone. So since my mom was speaking a lot about grandmother Anna, who died when my mom was 8 years old, I was thinking as well a lot about grandmother Ebunola, who I only met once when I was 9 years old and my sister 8, at a vacation in London for 2 weeks. And then I thought about these two women who lived so extremely different lives, Grandmother Anna was born 1900 in a small village called Högboda Gård between Kil och Arvika in Värmland. She had 4 children. She lived in a small farm, and she was the pillar of that family, Unfortunately, she had a brain tumor, and she died when my mother was 8 years old at Christmas Eve. And the whole family grieved a lot, and my mom was not permitted to go to the funeral or things like this. Then my Nigerian grandmother, because I'm their first child, I'm the first child of my mother and my father. So I was given both the name of Anna and of Ebunola. So I'm like, I have the name of the two. So that's why I kind of like physically and who I am also has so much to do with them. And then Grandma Ebunola instead, she's probably born 15 or 20, at least 15 years younger than Anna. Born in Lagos. When I was a child, I thought she was living in a hut, fighting against tigers and things. Then I came to realize that, or they told me she lived in Surulere in 2 beautiful big white villas, in the good, she was from a middle-class family, And she moved to London and worked as a social worker. And then she moved back, she left my dad. He stayed in Nigeria for 4 years alone. And then when she had settled, she sent for him. So she was a woman who traveled continents. She was a working woman, She studied. When she went back to Nigeria, she was a teacher in a university hospital for people who wanted to become nurses, And she was very high up in the church elite. So they were very strong women and very important in society and for their families in different ways. And they, of course, never met. Absolutely not. But they share something, and they share, me, my sister. We are their grandchildren living here today. So it's a voyage in time and evolution. And,
And for people who are curious about who's who, that's Mormor Anna, right?
Yes.
In Alabaster.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the young Ebunola
Yes.
in Diabas?
In Swedish,
What is it called?
diabas.
What is it called in English?
Diabase, I would say.
Diabase,
Yes.
yeah, okay. And then we have an older version of her.
Yes, because I only had a photograph of Ebunola when she's 80 years old,
Mm.
that my siblings in Nigeria sent me with Dad there and the cake. But when I saw her, she was of course not 80 because I was 9. But so then I started to do her actually from that photo when she's 80 years old, only from that one photograph where she's also doing a little bit of, when you're smiling, you are, like this. So it's a difficult expression to do. So I made her in clay, and then I started to work on her freehand in clay, which became this one.
Mm.
But working on freehand, I was like, when I had done, I was like, this is not her. Oh, it looks a little bit like me. It's not me, it's not her, it's something in the middle. And then I said, okay, you know what, let's do it a little bit more like me. So that's how this one came out. And then I said, how can I do her then to pay her, to do her justice? And that's how this one came. More of a memory, She was a strong woman, and so I think this is more her.
The features are kind of diffuse. You
Yes.
haven't defined it. It's kind of like ghost-like, but she's got this very amazing hair
Yeah.
going on.
Mm.
You touched a little bit on it, that this didn't start out as a self-portrait, but kind of developed into one. And this is also you, a self-portrait in a way.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about how it is to work on your own image or your own personage? How do you go about that?
Yeah. It's also something that did not start as a self-portrait. This one I did in India when I was there for 2 months this winter, between January and March. And I had this project of doing 3 monkeys, the opposite. But I said, before I start doing my monkeys, let me just get to know the stone, Let's dance together. Let's see how you feel, Let me try, let me see how the tools work and so on. Okay, so what should I do? Oh, I'll warm up with a portrait. I'll warm up with a head. So I just started to work without no thought of, who it's going to be.
Yeah.
And I was wearing braids at the time. And then I don't know, we always carry it ourselves in what we do, I saw it when in class in Accademia di Belle Arti in Florence, when all the students were drawing the nude model, and you walked around and you looked what everybody did, and the person, the model changed depending on who was depicting the model.
Right.
Everybody was doing it with their own proportions and things. So it's inevitable that you will always carry yourself in your work. So then it became, none of them are exactly me, but still there's something. So that's why in this show I gave them Yemisi, which is my whole Nigerian name, and then Yemisi as titles.
Okay. So in this room, there's several other figures that maybe aren't, except that one that's an auntie, but the rest are not really based on a real live person. They've kind of come to you as you've been working. And most of them, to me, look like women. So why this focus on women? What's your fascination with women?
Well, first of all, I'm a woman myself, and if I want to, show an expression or a feeling or something, it's easier to, it starts with me. I can be standing in a certain way. How do you, So I can stand like this, right? And then instead of having a model or somebody else. So that's very easy. But then also, I studied art in Italy, but in art, historically, the woman has often been an object, beautiful odalisque or something, or she's been, symbolizing something like this or that. And the men have been, emperors or... So I wanted to, because the women are the pillars of the society, The men might be out doing a silly war or something, and the women, they are at home. They provide that everybody has something to eat. They take care of the children. They take care of the elders. They are the glue of society. So for me, it's important to really show the people who to remember them in stone, to give them the true importance that they have, So that's why I think I do women a lot. Yeah.
you do other sculptures except besides people. I wonder, where does your inspiration come from? You work with nature, you work with animals, you mentioned the three monkeys. Where does your inspiration come from in general?
Yeah, it depends, what happens in society, news. Like, for example, the three monkeys I did now before going to India. We know the situation in Sweden now, the gang violence and all of that. And also not only there, but in the corruption, in, very high up in society and so on. And then for me, the three monkeys was something I saw it more like the old mafia way, like don't say la omerta, Sicily, that kind of thing. But actually then when I studied it, the three monkeys is actually something that started with Buddhism, that was imported by the Japanese. There's a Shinto temple in Nikki where they are done in wood from the 1600. And so Buddha sent a messenger to the earth to tell him how are the people behaving? Are they good? Are they? And the man saw, or the messenger saw that. No, maybe not. They're doing all these silly wars. They're not being nice to each other. But he didn't really want to snitch that to them. So he said, "Oh, they're pretty good." So that's where this kind of thing come from. I didn't see anything. Like this. Yeah, exactly. Not snitching on the people up to the gods, so to say. So that's why I wanted to do my version of the three monkeys, where somebody's actually, listen. Because there's psychological unhealth and all of that. So we need to be much more in a dialogue with each other, to listen to each other, to see each other. And then I come to India and everybody's, Buddha's monkeys, Gandhi's monkeys. Because then I get to learn that Gandhi said, because he didn't want to have any material stuff with him at all. He said no to all of that. The only thing that he brought with him was these three monkeys. So that's why they understood what I was doing, the artisans in the stone yard where I was working, because it was you're talking about, our heritage, but you're doing it your way. Oh, then we understand, So the inspiration can come from different things, that I meet daily and so on.
How did you start working with stone? Like, why stone? Why sculpture? Why? How did you fall upon this path?
Since I was a child, I really liked to draw and all of that. But also, since I was a child, stone was always something that I noticed. When I was jumping the rope in Värmland, on the road that was not with asphalt, I would see all this, catgold. I would see the stones that are like transparent, the one that looked like gold, the one that was pink quartz and so on. So I would notice these. When I was in the archipelago, where my aunt Karin had a house on the, those cliffs, and so stone was always a material that I noticed, as well as animals. But I did the 8 days practical exam, and I got into the Accademia di Belle Arti in Florence in painting. And then when you want to do a painting, okay, so what am I going to paint? You do drawings, you do sketches, and it's okay. Yeah, I'll do this, And then you take the big canvas, and first you need to make kind of like a base on the canvas. So you work with la terpentina and a little bit of oil, and you're on the floor and you do like this to give it a first coat. And in this first coat, everything's moving, it's very wet, and you're just like, wait, what's that? Oh, look, doesn't this look like, what's this? It looks like something, and then I'm like, oh, well, it doesn't look at all like my sketch. Should I follow my sketch, or should I follow what I see here? This feels like it's the collective unconsciousness telling me, hey, Yemisi, we're going this way. Are you coming? And I was, no, I'm not coming, because I'm going to do my little sketch, that I found out on my little chamber, And then I'm like, oh, maybe. So that's when I feel, I think there might be some kind of insecurity. I believe I trust more my instinct than my rationality, And I should, of course, have done 20 paintings where I followed my sketches and 20 paintings where I followed my intuitions. And I should have put them up on the wall, and I should have gone, let me see, which is but that's
Would
also...
that have made you a better artist, do you think?
I don't know. And then also I wouldn't know if when can you decide when is the intuition to follow and when is the time to follow? It becomes too much of a brain doodly thing, So I just went with what I felt in my heart that I wanted to do, and what my belly told me, and or what had more lust in me.
And that was stone.
And that was stone. So when I could actually, we who did painting, we were supposed to have the material of stone and bronze the third year in the academia. I wanted to start with it the second year. So I went to the Professor Lukacic in bronze, and I said, hey, listen, are you aware that I'm Nigerian, and not only, I'm Yoruba? And the Yoruba were the first to cast in stone. So I'm entitled to start this the second year, and I don't need to wait until the third year. And he said, you know what? You're so damn cocky, and you're even fun. I'll let you in, you know.
So you got to cast in bronze in your second year?
Yes, and my second year. And then, of course, I wanted to do marble as well. So I went and told a similar story to that man too. He also liked my temper. So, and then when I could have the hammer and the chisel in my hand, it was like, put me on the dance floor. If it's a good song, I'll just close my eyes and dance. I'm not going to ask like, oh, should I move like this now before I do that? And should it be? So I didn't have that kind of distance that I felt with painting. It was more like, oh, it's like a dance. Oh, yeah, I need to continue here. Oh, you do this, I do that. Oh, what did you say? Oh, I hear you. Oh, we're going. Oh, what I say. It was more of a much more direct dialogue than it was for me with painting. So,
exciting.
Yeah.
So, welcome. So, I don't know if this is something that I made up or feel. I come from Zimbabwe. There's a big stone carving culture there. And I feel that most of the people who work with that are men. And I don't know if it's just Zimbabwe or if it's like all over the world, and you've been carving in different parts of the world through your practice. Do you perceive, the stone masonry as a field to be very male dominated? And if so, how do you navigate it as a woman?
In Italy, working at Studio Sem, in Pietrasanta, there was lots of female sculptures. Though I only knew one, Evelina, female artisan, who was hired, who had a fixed position as a working for the prestigious Studio Sem. But sculptures, there were many female. Of course, before that, it was dominantly men. And when I came to Älvdalen 2018 and worked at Gamla Porfyrverket, and I got to learn about that history, those were poor men in the late 1600, beginning of 1700, to start to work with the porphyros. And today, I am a woman, I'm an independent female artist who can, thanks to the development of technical the tools with diamonds and so, I can do what I want.
Right, it's not about your physique.
No, it's not about, I'm enabled to, and also I'm not doing artisanry bows and things that only the very rich people can buy. I can do something that I like from my, So if you look at it in that perspective, I would say that has been a lot of emancipation and development, both industrial, but also for women and for individuality and class as well, My mom used to come to Pietrasanta in the beginning when I was there, and she came to the foundry, and she was like, she looked around, and on the walls were these Pirelli almanac. Pirelli girls in bikinis, or maybe one bikini top is not there. So half nude ladies were on the almanac on the walls, And my mom, who's always been, 70s lefty, worked in the social sphere all the time, was very aware of things like this. She was like, Yemisi. And everybody are men, And she's like, oh my God. She said, I see you here with all these nude women on the wall, and all these artisans, they come to you, they give you advice, and they have so much respect, and they're so respectful of you, and they're so caring. And so she had a difficulty of putting that together, that people with this kind of like metal mechanica, or that kind of, were so sensible, So maybe it's art.
Exactly.
Maybe it's art giving that thing.
Yeah. And speaking of art, you've also done, I mean, you don't only like exhibit in galleries, you've done public art projects. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that side of your practice and how it differs in terms of how you think when you're doing something that's going to be in our streets or in our hospitals. Or
Yes, of course. 2016, I got a half-public commission. I was supposed to embellish a cube in concrete that a building company had made for Tele2, the telephone company in Kista. So they said, okay, can somebody make this beautiful, you know? And then I won the thing with them because I was thinking, my first project was, okay, I'm going to do marble people, thin, who are walking around, you know, the people you see in their offices. Somebody's speaking on the phone, somebody's coming walking in the corridor, you know, or a group of people, and I'm going to do them thin, and I'm going to put them on the four walls of the cube. And then on the top, I wanted to do the Sheep Frank, because this was in the time where the Sheep Frank was doing the commercials for Tele2. So I was going to go to see this Klöven in Kista. I came there with the subway, and I asked a random person for the road, you know, and the person didn't speak Swedish. And I said, oh yeah, you see, here's lots of people working with software, and they're not Swedish, you know, they come here and then they come from all over the world, you know. And then I thought, and that's what I want to say, what's so interesting when you work with public things, because you're not only doing your own, you know, what you usually do. Then I came to think, oh, if I was, instead of watching them and trying to like, as if I was making them in stone, what if I was them? What would I like to see when I go into the office every darn day, you know, and I have to walk past and see this cube in the morning, and I see these waxing office people speaking, or, you know, the same people I'm going to meet in the office. Is that what I want to see? No. If I'm from Iran or from Persia or from India or from wherever. And I said, no. So then I changed my idea, and instead I made flowers. I used a stone from Morocco with lots of big chunks of real beautiful fossils. I used the Travertino Rosso from Persia. I made flowers. I made a big white lily from Italian marble. So I made different flowers on each side, had different flowers, and on one side I carved directly in the concrete, so the Swedish granite things came out, and then I made a bud and a more 3 different flowers in different stages there, and then I did the Sheep Frank, looking a bit cocky, like allora che vuoi, così, no, like a satyr in bronze, you know. So that made me grow, you know. It gave me a critic of myself, you know. First I'm like, oh, people working in office, and that's, but hell no, you know. So in that sense, it's so thrilling. It would be so thrilling to get more of these things, because it would make me grow, and to do an analysis of the place, and to do something together in that sense. So that would be very important.
Great. I was thinking we'll soon round off, but you're very busy this month. You've got like this show and 2 others. Would you like to tell the audience so people can go and see more of your work?
Absolutely. Next Saturday we're having a member exhibition at Konstnärshuset på Norrmalmstorg. So me and 199 other artists will each show 1 work there. And then in the beginning of November I'm also there with some other artists who got a stipendium the other year. So I'll be in an exhibition again there. So those are 2 things. And then 19th of October at Hornsgatspucken at Gallery Art Site, where my daughter who stands over there works every second week. There's a presentation of a project called Art for Women Today, and we are 10 artists doing different types of work, and we have all been our works have been photographed and are like in postcard size in a box, 16, and they are being sold, and it's in a collaboration with an Italian organization where all the money will go to the benefit of families that doesn't have it so easy economically. So it's a thing that's why it's called art for women today, because it's often women without a father or who, for different reasons, might be not have a job but they have children. So it's a welfare thing. It's a beneficial thing like this.
Worthy cause.
Yes.
So Gallery Artside, go and support and buy some postcards. My last question is, what is your dream project? If you could just, without restriction of time, money or anything, what would your dream project be?
Well, I would like to have more public works, but otherwise I would really love to do things abroad, because the world is so beautiful and there's so many places I haven't been, but I wouldn't like to go there as a tourist. I would like to go there in some way, collaborating with people there, doing art that's beneficial for more people, you know, and maybe to work in the stone that is there, you know, and to do something that's you know, do something for the better good for more people, but using art to do it. And in that sense also enrich myself in knowing places where I would not have gone, but it's not so nice to go as a tourist, you know what I mean? So that would be really a wish if I could have one.
I wanted to check, does anyone in the audience have a question? You're wondering anything? Everything is crystal clear. Well, we have an opportunity to mingle afterwards as well, have some more refreshments and talk to Yemisi directly and ask her anything you're wondering. But for now, I'd like to say thank you so much for paying attention and staying with us. Thank you, Yemisi, for this beautiful show.
Thank you, Marcia. Thank you.